Good morning. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Dr. Nina, and I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a director of multicultural programs at Missouri State University. I just recently joined Springfield almost 3 months ago, so it has been a bit of adjustment for me too, and finding places, spaces, and people where I belong. And so ironically, today, that's the message, and that's something I came to share with you all today. Human interactions are necessary for us to survive, said Amelia Frank. She claimed that we need one another to do our jobs well, to thrive, to love and feel love, and ultimately survive. So when I started thinking about it, I thought, well, that's quite extreme. But then I wondered about myself when I was a child and thinking about the children we might have. If we don't take care of a baby, yes, the survival is at risk. And we needed that human interaction, and we needed one another to help us when we were little to become better and to become independent. But if we take this extreme out, if we don't think, okay, without human interaction, I will still survive, why do we need that human interaction? Do we start thinking, without it, am I lonely? Without it, can I still be successful? Can I thrive? Can I love? Can I be loved? We start thinking we have a fear. We fear that people around us might not accept us. And we fear that we don't have this place where we belong. So today I will share a few of my personal thoughts about belonging. What does it mean to belong? Where do I belong? And who are the people I belong with? I will start with the definition of belonging, an affinity for a place or situation. And this is a Wikipedia, so can we, trust it completely. But what I've got from that definition is that it's a feeling. And I think I agree with that. I don't think belonging is an ability. I don't think it's a skill. I do think it's a feeling, and it's a feeling within us. I think that belonging means finding places and people who make you feel safe and where anything is possible. For many of us, we might never find a good definition for belonging, but I'm certain that we can all feel it. So when it's right, we will know it. For me, belonging growing up in Serbia, in Eastern Europe, was not a very good experience. I did not think I belonged there. And I thought of leaving, and I thought of the United States as a sky, because I thought that ultimately the sky is where the freedom is, where I truly belong. And so that's what United States represented to me, this ultimately feeling of belonging. So when I realized that, I slowly started gathering my things and moving across the pond at 18 by myself with a limited knowledge of English language. So I started wondering, okay, well, now I know the feeling of belonging, it's within me. I'm packed, but where exactly it's located? Well, let me tell you, it wasn't located in Vermillion, South Dakota, but that's where I ended up at. So that was my first American home in Vermillion, South Dakota. I constantly started thinking about the belonging. I grew up, as I said, in Serbia, where hate was fueled by poor economic situation, where if you thought outside of the box was disciplined, and where any form of individuality was seen as a threat. So I struggled a lot belonging in Serbia. Right. Oh, back up. Oh, sorry. So I started wondering and worrying that I will never belong there, even though there were many parts that I really truly loved about my home place. So moving to the US, I felt, okay, well, this is where I belong. But what I did not realize is that wherever we go, we carry ourselves with. And so all of a sudden in Vermillion, South Dakota, I didn't feel like I belonged either. And that truthfully scared me. I started going back to that feeling of my sky and what does that represent to me. And then I remember in the news, I read about some planes traveling over some country. And I remember Poland said, well, we won't allow them to go over our sky. And I thought, our sky? You own a sky? But that really gave me a perspective that even my sky belongs to somebody. And so how do I find belonging within? So I started addressing the issues of how I felt, and then I wanted to dig deeper into that feeling of belonging, and I found things and places and spaces where I felt I belong. So I thought about my home country, and all of a sudden I realized that there were things and places where I did belong. The streets of Belgrade, the opera and ballet theaters, my family. And I got this warm feeling, and I thought, wow, okay, this feels nice. Now I remember how that belonging felt. And I started thinking about the same thing in Vermilion, South Dakota. Although it was culturally very different, I met some amazing people, some friends. I was part of a tennis team. And I thought, okay, well, these are definitely spaces where I feel like I fit in. I'm not as lonely when I'm in these places. So when I knew, okay, now I know where this belonging is, I started thinking about, why do I care so much about it? Well, because knowing that we are deeply connected with a community that has our back is a good feeling to have. That we just, because we can do things on our own, doesn't mean that we have to. It means that because we have someone to love us and someone we can love in return is another beautiful, beautiful feeling. So within my community, who do I belong with? Many of us find it helpful to surround ourselves with people who share our beliefs or share our thoughts, that we surround ourselves with people who look like us, and who we can share things, that we have many things in common. However, I would also challenge you that you always open your minds and hearts to people who might not seem that belong with you. However, they have wonderful things to share. So for me currently, where I belong the most are multicultural spaces. So being at the University of South Dakota, I didn't see many people who shared my perspective or who could really understand me. But then when I went to multicultural spaces, I met so many people that although we didn't look like or we didn't come from the same places, our experiences intersected, our identities intersected. And sometimes it was wonderful being in a space where I didn't have to explain things. They were already understood. I love that I was in places where I could cry and that no one would ask why. They would just know. And so those multicultural spaces really helped me shape myself and shape my understanding of belonging, but also helped me move through schooling, learn English better, and earn my doctorate. And now I'm, this big director at Multicultural Office at Missouri State. It truly helped me really dig deep into my own personal feelings and who I want to be. And then I found people who genuinely cared. And I knew that even with some people, I didn't share the perspectives. I knew that they genuinely cared about my well-being. And that's what I'm trying to do today for my students as well. So what now? I encourage all of you to find your own definition of belonging. There are many, there's not one right answer. It is what feels right to you. And that you find one place and one person who can help you find that feeling. I will always know that as long as people's minds are open, I know that I can find my way to belonging. So now currently for my place and space of working, I think I want to share a little bit of why my students feel like they belong, because we do a lot of events and programming that help them share and being understood. We affirm identities and we allow students to encourage them to use their voices. We work a lot on visibility. We want our students to be seen and to be heard and their identities to be affirmed. We have a transition closet where we affirm identities and also share our clothes to students in need. And of course, we are making a difference. On daily life, I am advocating for students and making sure that their experience at Missouri State and in Springfield, it's beautiful, it's open-minded, and one day I hope that I inspire them to pursue education and make a difference and find that space and places where they belong. So on Monday, with that being said, on Monday, we do have an event that is open to community as well. It's called Dance With Us. We have a wonderful group from Springfield that will perform. So I do invite you all to join us and see what we do at Missouri State, how we support our students. And I hope that you find a little piece of belonging at MSU too. So I will leave this with you. And if anyone wishes to come, we welcome you all. Thank you so much for listening to my message today. I appreciate it. And I hope that I belong here with you as well.